Hi, my name is Christina Montero, and I'm an associate professor with the Faculty of Education here at Wilfrid Laurier University. So one of the things that I think about with respect to culture, and it's a very complex undertaking, complex thinking, because there are so many different layers, and how one of the images or metaphors that help me think about culture is that of an iceberg. And so if you think about an iceberg, there's 1/8 above the water and 7/8 below the water. And so that's what culture is about. So there's the visible culture, different things like dress and clothing and music and traditions, different things like that. So that's that visible culture. And then there's the invisible culture. So things like worldviews, ideologies, identities, notions of self, and how that impacts how we engage with the world. And then connecting all of that is, I like to think about that common humanity or that common culture that connects these cultural pieces together. So that's one of the metaphors that I like to think about when I think about culture. Within my own teaching, I try to bring that cultural aspect together. I have my content, but then that unifying piece is, first I try to make that community. The community piece in my classroom is critical. Because if we have a community within the classroom, then we're able to talk about those elements of visible culture. And the way that we engage with visible culture, we can validate, we can celebrate, we can acknowledge those elements. And that's more the easier way of dealing with culture in my perspective. It's the invisible culture that is much, much more complex, because it is invisible. We don't see it. We don't have anything tangible to see. But we need to be able to talk about it. We need to be able to engage with it in a safe type of way. And so when we create that community, and when we are able to engage with each other and understand that there is that common humanity connecting us, then those types of conversations can be meaningful, authentic. So that's one of the things that I try to do in my teaching. And it's not so much about the content yet. Certainly the content is important. It's always important in any type of class that one teaches. But for me, that underlying piece is the community that one creates, or that I'm able to create. One of the activities that I do in many of my classes, not all of them, but many of them at the very, very beginning. And keep in mind, my content area is education. So I work with educators, pre-service and both in-service teachers. And I use what's called a name history activity. And essentially what it is that it's that introductory piece where everybody's introducing themselves to each other. And I have students talk about themselves through their name history. So on a small piece of paper, I get them to write their full name, any nicknames they might have, any ways that they like to be called or that other people have called them in the past, and then just share who they are about that. And what comes out are these wonderful stories about identity. So I begin by modeling, and I talk about my own name history, and I say, well, my full name is Maria Cristina Montero Hapala, and I talk about how my dad was from Spain and my mom from Finland, and so I was born in Canada, and they chose to give me the name Maria Cristina so that I would have a name that was acknowledged in all three of the countries, in Canada and Finland and Spain, and hopefully beyond. The culminating or the powerful piece of that is then beginning to talk about the importance of identity and the importance of power within that naming. And we get into issues of culture, because how one likes to be called or how one is called, it does have a power issue involved. And particularly as educators have a very powerful position within a classroom, because within just a blink of a word, a blink of an eye, we can change somebody's identity forever.